Hey traders, Nick Shaheen here looking at Bitcoin, something I don't usually trade, but I am helping out a friend and setting the challenge to the CNBC guest, the guy with the porn mustache. He said a few things that were pretty funny, like this year disposable income will be bigger than last year. I'm thinking, don't you need income first before you have disposable income? He's mistaken the handout from the government as, so-called income. Anyway, this is finite, 2-3 months maybe. And with 23 million people without work, at least the way they count it, there are a lot of people that are not even being counted. This is just an asinine statement. So back to Bitcoin. And I'll start with the good news. Sorry, the chat room is open. So that reminds me, down below in the description, there is a link to that chat room. Try it out. It's pretty cool. So we have a dip, 10-15% from that poke at 10,000. I'm sure CNBC was all over it at the time. And now it fades. So if somebody chased the headline up there, now they're getting stopped out $2,000 later, which is not the place to get stopped out from the daily chart. Now, I'm using technicals. Why? Because I'm not an expert in Bitcoin. I know what it is. I know the concept. And I know one thing, that cash is being decimated by governments. And I am not that guy. Trust me, I'm not that guy. But with the stimulus flying off the shelf and a -1% loan from the ECB, we thought Draghi was crazy. Christine Lagarde is even crazier. They are killing cash as a repository of value. So gold, Bitcoin, silver, anything that has perceived value before and is not tied to government action will retain its value better because they can't, lower the rate to affect its value, kind of a thing. So even though indirectly it may be affected, but anyway, they will hold value better. So from that perspective, I am long gold for a while and profitable. So it's a trade using the GLD. So back to Bitcoin, I'm going to try and find better levels. So the daily doesn't give me a lot. It just tells me that the buyers are still in charge. We have a higher low perspective here, and that dips towards 8,000 will be bought. Why? Because of this little, my opinion, this little cluster here. It's a pivotal zone. It's a mental number, it's a round number, and it's like somewhere in the middle. 10 is too much, 6 is too low, somewhere in the middle lies the truth, but it has support from the charts itself. And it's a big range, usually from 7,600 to 8,000, 8,200, 8,300. It's a zone. So in order to drill down more actionable short term for those of you who trade the futures in it or some other tool like Riot or something. So let's go to, first of all, let me put down the lines that I put in. Okay, so I don't remember where this box came from, so let's zoom out. So apparently I highlighted this zone from a while back as pivotal. So there it is, back in play. That fortifies my opinion. Okay. Also from here, if it falls to the low six, mid to low sixes, it's even more of a reason to buy the dip. So back to lower time frames, which give us better actionable data. Again, I'm going to delete hide the drawings. And here you can see it. Wick, meaning they immediately reject these touches of 8,200. So now they develop a neckline. That's good, but that's also bad because therein lies the potential for the bears to break through. And if you look at it, it looks like an inverse cup and handle, whatever you want to call it. It's a neckline that's getting tested from lower highs, and if eventually they lose that bounce floor, they overshoot lower to where 7,800, to this little consolidation zone. All right, now the volume profile tells me that that shouldn't happen because for this particular period of time, which is looks like April, May, the volume profile says that there's a lot of consolidation here, so it's kind of magnetic. So when you fall into it, it hits the brakes. But it looks like also like a neckline, like a head and shoulders, whatever you want to call it. It's a neckline getting hammered. Eventually, you may chip away at it to lose it. Now, it's good that they have support / neckline. It's bad that they have resistance for exactly the same reason. You've got a poke high that was immediately puked, and then it matches this level here. So now what used to be So resistance, then support, lost, and now it's resistance again. That's the statement. That's the thesis here. As you run into a place where you just failed, I'm going to assume you're going to fail again until you show me you can take it out. Once you take it out, you're going to do this. You take it out, you take a step on it. Okay, it's good. So you take it out, you take a step on it, and then you go back up. So if I'm lucky enough to grab it over 9,000 or 90, if you want to be technical, 9,200, 9,160, 9,170, then the exit point is pretty close because it's 9,600. This whole zone is a fail. So when do I buy it? If I get long on the breakout here, I have a scalp up to here, and then I get out. I don't have to love it forever if it's a trade. If I'm accumulating it for the future, that's fine. But if it's a trade, it's okay to get out and get back in after this. So I would put an alert here and say chase it. I'm not going to say anything. I'll just want to see it. So, and if I wanted to short it, I can probably short it here with a tight stop, however you want to short it. Where the stop would be depends. Some people like 2%, 5%. Some people don't mind seeing a lot of red until they're wrong. This, if it doesn't fail here, it's going to fail here. So I would put an alert here and say fade, meaning if you're long, just book some profits. It's a ledge. It's coming back into an excellent scene. So I'm going to put my charting skills, which are self-taught, by the way, and against the biggest so-called expert on CNBC, and let's see who's better, right? Now he's saying that there's going to be a halving, blah, 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 blah. Stop fucking this thing up. Bitcoin is valuable because it's Bitcoin and it shouldn't move one way or another. It should be Bitcoin forever, not Bitcoin half this and half that and quarter this and cash this and cash that. Just leave it as be. Just don't mess with it. Gold is gold. They don't say, okay, we're going to have the gold. If you're saying it's as good as gold, just don't touch it. Stop messing around with it. So having or not, if it's in the news and I know about it, it's in the price already to a certain extent. It's not going to like take off like a rocket. Maybe it will, but it'll have to go through the same technical rules that apply anywhere else. So I'll be surprised to see it slice through all these three levels without stopping. It's going to hit, fade, hit, fade, hit, fade, at least. And it's not going to slice through to zero without stopping here. So it's going to fade, bounce again until it breaks through and then shoot down. How far down? It could go down to, what is this? 120. Let's go to 15 minutes. How about that? Okay, so now we have actionable item. 89.50 would be a trigger to buy a little bit. This one is same. 91.60, 56, 57 would be a trigger high. And you're eating into these two giant candles, so it's not going to be easy, but it is a trigger. Trigger low, depends. If you're trading it tightly, this area here looks pretty weak, 94.20, so catalyst. But then you have a nice bounce over here. So maybe I don't short it until it falls below 81.90. You know, arguably, what the hell happened here? Okay, so whatever happened there, I'm telling you, I don't know the fundamentals. I know the fundamentals. I don't track the news because they're misleading. So whatever happened there is likely to be a catalyst here. But it looks like this bounce here is pretty good news because they didn't even come to that. So maybe they've had this overshoot out of the way. The internals, like the RSI, for example, is improving a little bit, even though price isn't. Maybe I'm seeing things, maybe not. So lower high, neckline, kind of higher low. Something's got to give. It's too tight. So the range went from way back there to either it's going to do this, and then we have tightening here. So something's got to give in this area right there. So retest the bottom. I'm not going to say lower. I'm being optimistic. So retest the bottom since it's pretty solid, but something's got to give here. The range went from this wide. Actually, if you want to say it, it's from this wide to a pinpoint. And in this case, pinpoints is hundreds, but it's still something's got to give here. The trigger would be up here, maybe a closer one here. I know somebody's driving saying, what the hell is here? Well, stop and look at your phone. So anyway, Nick signing out.